You've submitted your poem, you've submitted your story, but what happens next? Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate and I read for a popular lit mag, and my whole purpose of this series is to try and demystify the submission process, especially for new writers, because it can be a lot and it can feel really overwhelming. Today I'm bringing you behind the scenes to what I see on the other side of a submission. Let's get into it. First things first, most lit mags or publications will accept submissions through Submittable. Not all of them will. There are quite a few overhead fees, but a lot of lit mags and publications do. So when you're submitting to work somewhere, more often than not, you'll be directed to submit through submittable.com. This is what I see before I log in. So this is just the platform that we normally use. When I log in, this is the first thing that I see. You can see that all of these poems say stage 1 beside them. That just means that I'm the first reader that's getting a chance to look at them before they go on to the next stage, before they go on to another round of readers. So not only can we see the stage, we can also see the submission title. I've blurred out names and anything that would indicate a specific or particular submission. Under the project heading, you can see what I'm reading for. That always changes. It can either be featured poetry, it can be a specific contest. So we know that this one I'm reading for is for the 2025 free poetry contest. It also has the date that you submitted your work on. So in this case, it was June 23rd. Today is July 8th, so it does take some time. Also, you can see that blue in progress status. That just means that there hasn't been a decision made. When you initially submit something, it will say received, but it will move to in progress once it has been assigned to a specific reader. You'll also notice that under the first poem, there's a yellow tab that says a poem taken. That just means that this was a simultaneous submission, and whoever submitted these poems had another one accepted, and so they contacted us and said, hey, this one is no longer available, and so we've made a note of that and we know which one has been taken by another lit mag, and so we won't consider that one. So on my end, this is what I can see. I can see your name, I can see your email, I can see the title of the submission, I can see your cover letter and bio if you have submitted those to us, and then I can also see the file upload, and that's where I'll click in, and that's where I'm going to see everything that you wrote and submitted. I'm going to go over this a little more in a minute, but on the right hand side you can see that it says stage 1 because I'm the first one who's going to look at it. There's a thumbs up, which means accept to go on to the next round. There's a kind of hand. We don't tend to use that one. And then there is a thumbs down, which unfortunately means that this submission will be declined. Beside the review heading, it says activity, and those are just all the messages that are going back and forth between the publication and the author. So for example, that's where there would be information if a specific poem was already taken, what its name was. Any notes or communication between the lit mag and the author will go in there. Nothing that I write can be seen by the author. There are certain privileges and certain people who can have messages that will be seen by the author, but the readers, we're just able to write little notes to one another that the author will not see. These are just some of the labels that we can use when categorizing your work, your poems, your stories. We don't use most of these, at least not at our publication. I'm sure there are lots that do. We mostly use finalist or nominated for a contest. There are different levels of rejection, and like I said, rejection is redirection. I want us to kind of like reframe that word, but there are 3 levels. There's a general, there's an encourage, so we really liked your work, there just wasn't room for it this time, and we're encouraging you to submit again because we do value your work. And then there's also the personal. If we think that, you know, your work is really commendable and we want to give you personal feedback, we will use that one as well. Yeah, and just going back to this, so you can see that for this poem, I clicked the thumbs up and it turned green. That lets the next reader know that I've accepted it. And again, it's really important to know that just because I've accepted it does not mean that the next reader will accept it, and that doesn't mean that like the final reader will accept it either. Best case scenario, we all accept it. But again, poetry is subjective. What I might like, someone else might not like, and that is why I say that rejection is just a redirection. Someone will like your work. It often just feels like a lottery because you need to get through several people reading your work, and we all have to agree, and that doesn't happen super often. So that's why even though your work might be beautiful, it might not be accepted. So never take that rejection personally. This is how I can tell which poems have been accepted. You'll see that beside the title, there is a little green box with a 1, and those are all the poems that have been accepted so far. See that there's a little orange tab that says finalist. This was for a contest, so this poem was nominated and they were finalists. Pretty exciting. The blue nominated for FP means nominated for feature poetry, so poetry that's going to find itself in the Lit Mag. And this is what we see for the poems that were unfortunately not accepted. It is a orange -1, so again, we don't use that like in the middle. We will usually upvote if we want further consideration. So I might say, you know, I'm not sure about these, I really liked them, but I'm upvoting for a second opinion. So there's a lot that goes into this. This is what happens to your work once you've submitted it to us. It takes a couple of weeks to even get to us, and then it can take several months to go through each of those rounds. That's why a lot of publications say, you know, wait at least 6 months. And if you haven't heard within 6 months, then you can contact us and get an update. But it does take a lot of time. Like I said, for emerging authors, I would highly suggest that you seek out publications that are looking for emerging authors, or even submitting to small presses, because you're likely going to get that turnaround quicker. Bigger publications, it takes a long time. There are even publications where it can take over a year. And if you send a message asking for an update, they're so busy, they're not even gonna get back to you. One piece of insider advice, there is a publication that does not accept simultaneous submission. I would recommend not submitting there. Writing is a career for a lot of people, and it is a difficult career. You do not make much getting your work in magazines, and publications that do not honor that we might be needing to send our work out to multiple sources, they're potentially keeping us from an income and keeping us from receiving payment for poems. That is not the most ethical business model for writers who are trying to make money off of their craft. I hope this little behind the scenes helped. And yeah, until next time, happy publishing. Bye.